Hi guys, so here's this week's video. This week's video, you get a bonus. There's actually two techniques, two skills, two tools, two things to do when there is someone in your life where you are having conflict with them. So we all have those people that are in our lives that we want to continue to have in our lives, but there's a conflict, there's a headbutting that happens, there's some type of tension or whatever that happens when we're together. Um, and when that is not a person that you want to necessarily cut out of your life, you have to learn to kind of deal with them. So there's two different ways that you can, two different techniques that you could use in order to help strengthen your relationship with those people that you have conflict with. So the first one is, as is usually the case, these things are simple, but not necessarily easy. They do, require some extra energy, a little extra push, becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable. The first technique, the first thing to do is to simply have that missing conversation. There is obviously a missing conversation when you are in continual or on a regular basis conflict with the same person or same group of people over and over and over again. There is a missing piece of conversation. There's an elephant in the room. There is something happening that no one in the room is addressing. And so this is where you get to step up. You get to be the leader, the change maker, the one that makes a difference. You get to be the one to call out the elephant in the room and have that missing conversation. Be curious about what exactly is going on. Lay out your perspective, ask for their perspective, and just find out what is that barrier? What is that barrier that's in between you that is causing this conflict repeatedly? So just being bold enough to be the one to have this missing conversation. Again, not saying that it's easy, but it's absolutely needed. So every time you find yourself coming to me during your session or, going to your friends or whatever it is, asking like, I can't figure out what that is, what's going on? What's the deal? Those are the questions to ask the actual person that you're asking about, not your friends, your coach, your therapist, your whatever it is. Ask the person. They're the only ones that have the real answer. So that is the first tip on what to do. The second tip, because there are times when that's kind of it may not be possible, or you may need to soften things before even having that conversation. So in conjunction with that, or in case you really can't get yourself to do that, the second technique is to be curious and creative. So this is what this looks like. We are very obviously creative when we are coming up with reasons why this is happening. They must think this about me. They must think this about themselves. They just suck. Whatever it is, we become very creative into making up stories as to why people behave the way they behave. And oftentimes those stories are simple and short-sighted, and they're just a jerk, or they just like being mean, or they don't like me, or we make up these stories around these things. And we're good at being creative. Now it's time to give equal time to being creative and curious about what are some reasons, what are some factors, what are some things that would have to be in play in order for you to treat someone else the way they are treating you. So really putting yourself in their shoes and then becoming curious and creative in purposefully making up some alternative stories, some stories that might make a little more sense or might be closer to the truth. And some of those stories might sound like they just, they're having a hard time at home and they're bringing it into work with them. Or something like, wow, it always seems to be around this particular subject. I wonder if something traumatic happened to them around that thing, right? And so like really looking into making up some alternative stories that soften the effect on you, that can have you understanding where they might be coming from, because without talking to them, you don't know where they're coming from. And we automatically assume that it's something negative or bad. But what if it's not? What if it's something understandable? What if there is a legitimate reason of why they're coming at you the way that they are? And so imagine if we're going to be using our imagination and we're not going to be finding out the facts anyway, may as well use your imagination in a way that makes you feel better. So this is your choice. You get to choose where your focus is. Do you want to feel miserable about this person by making up these negative stories? Or do you want to find some softness and a way to be able to communicate with them in a way or understand them in a way by making up stories that are more on the positive or understanding side? That's your choice. You can continue to just say they're a jerk, or you could say, you know what? I bet there's something deeper going on there. If they're being this mean to me, they're probably being even more mean to themselves. And whew, wow, that's got to be a lot of pressure. So you get to choose where your focus is. So tip number one, call out the elephant in the room. Simply ask the person. If you don't feel like you could do that, ask yourself. But ask yourself, what potentially could be leading to this behavior? How could I see, what would it take for me to be able to act this way? Have I ever acted this way with anyone else? And, just try to find some understanding and empathy there. That's your double tip of the week. And I will see you next week. Again, always share, like, friend, follow, subscribe, do all the things so that I can continue to do these. And as always, let me know if you have any questions or any requests on things to talk about or whatever it is. See you next week. Bye.